Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for my TikTok people to turn up now. It's awfully bright in here. I had to close all the blinds. Okay, just waiting for TikTok to turn up. Hello, welcome to my live today. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from and how old your kids are. So where are you from and how old are your children? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and my kids are 33 and 28. And I've got a granddaughter on the way. So how old are your kids and where are you from? Sissy, good morning. Where are you? It's 4:38 in the afternoon here in Vancouver. So where are you? So anyway, I'm just asking people, where do you live and how old are your kids? I always like to know. So a lot of young kids, a lot of parents of young kids turning up here. What time is it? 4:30 on a Friday? I don't know. I never know. Different ages turn up at different times. So where are you from and how old are your kids? Now, oh my goodness. 19, 16, and 13 from Australia. I know your Aussie history. Oh, excellent. Oh, right. Sissy, right. Okay. Yeah. I love Australia. It feels just as home to me as Canada does because I was there for so long. Ontario, kids are 2.5 and 4 months. Oh, you're right in it. You're right in the stink of it all, aren't you? Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. 9, 7, 3, 2, and 6 months old. Yikes. Wow. You're very brave. Good for you. So you got a 3 and a 2 and a 6-month-old. Holy moly. Okay. I nanny 2 young boys as well, so your information is amazingly helpful. Excellent. I don't teach anything other than parenting, but a lot of other people, like in other professions, still use the advice. A lot of it crosses over to all different roles. Rhode Island. I'm going to look that up. I don't know where Rhode Island is. Is that New York? Curious. Where's Rhode Island? Oh, no, it's not at all. Huh. How did I not know that? Oh, I was so off, wasn't I? Oh, no, wait a minute. So I'm just looking up where Rhode Island is. Oh, it is close to New York. I wasn't that far off. Okay, smallest state in the U.S., Rhode Island. Oh, it's a state. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That's a state, Rhode Island? I didn't know that. Interesting. Sure am. LOL, love it. The brave one with all those kids. Wow, good for you. I admire that. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa, a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. That's for you to be on there too. That's what makes it work. You got to show your kids that you're accountable too. And you know, I talk a lot about discipline because that's all people ever ask me about. But 99.9% of all my method is based on connecting with your kids, making them feel good about themselves, making them like themselves. Because when you nail that and you teach your kids how to like themselves and be proud of themselves, everything else falls into place. You won't even need to discipline. They're just self-disciplining when they have high self-esteem. Children who are acting out have low self-esteem. Children who don't act out, who have a leader and don't act out and are proud of themselves, they have very high self-esteem. Okay. My 15-month-old screams when she wants thing and I don't give attention, make eye contact until she's done. Is that fine? She knows how to say all done. I don't know because she's still kind of a baby. So I don't know. Is she screaming for something that she needs or just scream? I don't know if I just ignore that. I'm not sure. Yeah, it depends on what she's asking for, you know? Yeah, because she's still kind of a baby at that stage. So I'm not sure about that one, to be honest. Not bad. If it's working, keep doing it. Don't fix what isn't broken. Honey, so thanks for sharing all this stuff. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Excellent. Thanks, Abby. Oh, you've been here before, Abby. Yeah, I love what I do. I absolutely love it. So it's just they say if you have a calling in life, you got to follow through with it because it's what brings you joy, right? So yeah, I love what I do. Will occupational therapy help with emotional outbursts? I don't want to comment on that because I'm not an occupational therapist and I'm not going to step on anyone's toes. But emotional outbursts only usually happen when they don't have a leader. So if you're a leader, it tends to calm them down. because all kids need, crave, and want a leader. Without it, they tend to be more emotional, more sensitive, act out more. So when you're a leader, it kind of takes care of everything. So I don't know what to tell you there. I just was talking to a client about this. How do you keep yourself grounded when your kids are acting out? My self-control isn't great. When you set yourself up as a leader, then you'll calm down. But you got to do the work first. You can't calm down if it's all chaotic and you don't know what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing and you start working on the program. Anyway, I have a course if you're interested. It's my Bratbusters boot camp. It teaches you how to set yourself up as a leader in 5 weeks. That's in the link above. And once you start doing that and you start to get results and you start thinking, oh, I know what to do, then you calm down. You got to do the work before you get the calm. It's just the way it is. You got to go through the storm to get to the calm. The rainbow. Okay. Do you believe in the cry out method when nothing else works for bedtime? I don't want to comment on the cry out method because it sounds like it's a real method. I've never looked at what anyone else teaches because I teach from my own experience with kids, right? So I've never read a book on parenting. So I don't want to comment on a cry out method when I don't even know what it is. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. I guess it's time to take the course. Lots of people double up, but some people just want coaching. Lots of people want coaching and the course. Some people just do roll with the course. Are you very good at self-regulating and following through, or do you want someone to hold your hand? That's what coaching's all about. Some people want both. And but yeah, it just depends on how you learn. We're all different learners, right? Yeah, it's all about leadership. It is, because once you're a leader, they follow. They just do. They want to please you. It's a natural instinct for children to want a leader. When they have a good leader, they want to please that leader. They would never act out with a leader. Like my kids were self-disciplining. They would have been embarrassed to be cheeky to me because I was the leader, right? Because they looked up to me. And then because they were so well behaved, they were proud of themselves. Their self-esteem was up, and it was really up there. Because being a leader doesn't mean you're the authority. It means that you're good at guiding them into making good choices. So, and they had a voice, believe me. If my kids didn't like something I was doing, they told me. So they very much had a voice. Can a 20-month-old be disciplined? Yeah, it's consistent corrective actions. So every time they do something you don't like, you just say no, and then you take a corrective action. If they've hit with a toy, you say no, and you put the toy away. So don't do the therapy sessions, all the words, it's garbage. That's for you, it's not for your toddler. So just say no and then take consistent corrective actions. You got to do it 10 times out of 10. If you do it 9 times out of 10, they remember the one time you didn't. They just do. They've got selective memory. What if my 5-year-old has outbursts at daycare just to come home and be with mom, but mom has to work? So he's having outbursts at daycare to go home. Now he's 5. I don't know what's going on at daycare. Are you a leader at home? I know you got to work, so you can't take them home. But are you a leader? Because when you're a leader, they don't usually do that. When they have a leader at home, they just don't usually do that. So work on your leadership skills. It takes care of that. Leadership takes care of pretty much everything. You set yourself up as a leader by using my free behavior board, or you can buy my course, my Bratbusters boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. It teaches you leadership. Leadership is about dealing with bad behavior very quickly, get it over and done with, like pulling a Band-Aid off, and then focusing on the good kid. If you make kids like themselves and make good choices, everything falls into place. When they like themselves, when they're with you, they want to please you. That's part of leadership, is having fun with your kids, being fun. But you deal with bad behavior. But don't attach their bad behavior to their identity. Like, it's okay to say to a kid, yeah, what a rotten thing to do. You're such a great kid, but what a rotten thing to do. Here's the consequence. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the word bad or rotten. It's the action that you're talking about, not the kid, okay? Yes, I'm the leader. You're the leader, and he wants to come home with you. He's breaking things. I don't know what's going on there. Okay. Mom has to, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I would have to assess the situation. If you want my help, you'd probably have to hire me for coaching to figure that one out. I'd have too many questions before I could give you an answer. I don't know what's going on because he's 5. So there's something going on. And if you're the leader, it doesn't add up. So unless there's something going on there that he doesn't like, don't worry. It might not be something huge. Parents always freak out when I say there might be something going on at school that's upsetting them. Oh my God, and it might not be something big, right? Sometimes it's something little that upsets them. Maybe they're just being excluded from games from other kids or something, and they just want to go home. I don't know. You'd have to assess that. You have to be a detective and figure that out. If you want my help, you can hire me in the link above. Okay. He says he doesn't like school but loves to be with me all the time. Are you the leader, though? That's the thing. That doesn't add up to me. If you're the leader, I would just say, you got to go to school. That's just the rule. And I'm the leader, and they would just go to school. So I don't understand that. Unless you give in, are you the leader, or does he get all his own way when he's at home? Is he like, do you give in to all his demands at home? And then school doesn't? Is that why? I don't know. I'd have to assess it. Did you ever lose your cool with your kids? How'd you make up for it? Oh God, yes. I remember one time in particular, my son was 12 years old, and he said for years it was the most traumatic event of his whole life. Fine. Anyway, what had happened was I'd never yelled before. I was never yelled at, and I never yelled at my kids. Anyway, my 12-year-old son was trying to take out the garbage. I had always told him, don't pick it was a double garbage can, recycle one garbage in the other. I always said, pick it up by the bins on the side, not by the lid. If you try and pick it up by the lid, the whole thing falls over. Sure enough, he picks it up by the lid and the whole thing falls over. I'm very fussy. I'm not OCD, but I'm borderline. Like, I'm very fussy. Garbage went everywhere, and he felt horrible. And I yelled. And it wasn't a scream. It was just a yell. And he'd never been yelled at before. His lips went white. He went pure white. He'd never been yelled at before. And then he just went in his room. He was all upset. And I instantly went, oh, my God, what did I do? It's just garbage. The poor kid was trying to take the garbage out, So anyway, I went in his room, and I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I can't believe I did that. I said, here you were trying to do something nice, and I just yelled at you. I said, I couldn't believe that. And he was and so I ended up buying him a new PlayStation game, trying to make it up to him. And I never yelled again. I felt horrible. So yeah, I lost it. But you got to make it up. And it's okay to make mistakes. I made lots of other mistakes, but I wasn't a yeller. So, but yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. You want to teach them it's okay to make mistakes. None of us are perfect. You don't want to set yourself up as looking perfect or thinking you look perfect, because that's ridiculous. You want to teach them it's okay to make mistakes so long as you're accountable for those mistakes. Like, you got to make amends. There's a consequence, right? Sometimes, this is Jennifer, the 1 to 5-year-old. Okay. Sometimes I think I baby him too much and he doesn't get, yeah, that's what I said. It's like you're catering to him too much at home and he doesn't get catered to at school, rightly so. So he doesn't like that. That's what I'm guessing. Also, the fact it upsets you. If my kids did stuff like that, they knew that they wouldn't be coming home anyway, so yeah, there's something going on there. Anyway. Apology goes so far with kids. It's not just apologizing. It's making amends. Anyway, I actually have a whole thing here, how to apologize. I wrote it down. No, I didn't. Anyway, I know what it is anyway, but I wrote down how to apologize, and then I never wrote down what it is. There's 4 steps to apologizing. To a good apology. Now, adults should learn this too. Number 1, say you're sorry. I don't care about that word. To me, it's an empty word. I don't care. I'm sorry. Well, that makes up for everything. You'll even see it in court. Did you apologize for murdering their whole family? Yes, I did. And they didn't forgive me. They're not very forgiving. It's just, the word sorry is so overused these days. I want accountability, right? So anyway, say you're sorry. The second step is take full responsibility for it. Don't say, I wouldn't have yelled if you hadn't done this. So don't blame the other person for what you did wrong. So say, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. I shouldn't have done that. Here's number 3. Make amends. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? Make amends. That really shows you're sorry. And say, what can I do to make it up to you? Like, if I'm never late, but if I was ever late and I was meeting someone somewhere, I'd say, hey, how about I buy you a drink? Sorry about that. And then number 4 is don't keep doing it over and over again. If you keep repeating the same crime, your apology meant nothing. So yeah, 4 steps to a proper apology. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, I'm going to tell you a funny story. This is actually a funny story. My son was 8 years old and he had a PlayStation and he had a memory card. And we only had one memory card in the family. And he went to bed. He was playing this racing game and he was getting good at it. You know how they get level and they take it very seriously. So he was up to like level, 5,000 or something. And he was so proud of getting up to this level. And then he saved it on the memory card. He goes to bed. Saturday night, my husband and I are up playing Crash Bandicoot. So I'm playing Crash Bandicoot, this silly little cartoony game on the PlayStation. And I go, save on the memory card. And my husband said, you know what you did? And I said, what? No, what? And he says, you just saved over his game. And I said, no, I didn't. And he says, find it. And I went, I had saved over my son's game. He worked for like weeks to get up to level whatever. And I'd saved over it. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, Sunday morning, I'm in the kitchen like this. I felt so bad. I'm in the kitchen and I heard him wrestling. He was getting up on Sunday morning. So I went in his room and I said, sweetie, I've kind of got some bad news. And he goes, what? And I said, I saved over your game by accident on the memory card. And he goes like this. He was going to start to cry. And I said, but I'm going to buy you a brand new game to make it up to you. And he went, oh, okay. Can I have such and such? I bought him a brand new game. And then it got to be a joke. He kept trying to get me to save. I bought another memory card for myself and never touched his again. But he kept trying to slip his memory card in there to get me to ruin it. The funny part is he'd gotten so good at that game. He got to that level within like an hour. So we got back up there really quickly. But yeah, make amends. That's showing respect. You make mistakes too. Make up for it. That's part of leadership. You are modeling what you want from them, right? You want to be accountable. You want to be respectful. You want to be kind. You're modeling that behavior for them. Oh, my son doesn't want to do any sports or extracurricular activities. My son was the same. He's not a joiner. My daughter joined everything. But I'm not a joiner. Some people just aren't joiners. And so, but my son, when he was growing up until he was a teenager, about 14, I think, I made him join one thing every season or every semester. I made him join one thing. That was it. He could pick and choose what it was. But when he was really young, I made my kids try everything. They had to go and try out, but if they really hated it, they didn't have to. But then they had to pick which one they wanted to join. My daughter joined everything, but my son, he would have to pick one thing. So yeah, that was just my rule. You have to pick one thing. Like my son wasn't a joiner, but one time he did theater, he did basketball, he did soccer, he did a whole bunch of different stuff. So yeah. What does hiring you for help entail? If you go up in the link above, it's coaching. It kind of explains it all. It's all done on Zoom. We just talk for about an hour a week, and it's all done on Zoom. And I will help you set up a behavior board, and then I tell you how to make it work. That's the goal, is how to make it work. But I learn a lot about you when we're setting up the behavior board. And if you yell, you're not alone. Almost all my clients yell. I had one family today, they don't yell. So it's very rare that happens. Most parents yell. So I put their rule is no yelling. But yeah, when they don't yell, we have to come up with other stuff. But yeah, so it's all done on Zoom. Okay. Okay. My bonus. Okay. This would be coaching, by the way. My bonus 6-year-old started acting mean to everyone. He hasn't seen his mom much. I'm not sure what to do. There's too much going on there. I would have to assess the situation, figure out what's going on, and then we start working on that. But I can't. That's not a TikTok answer. If you want to hire me, check out the link above. I hate throwing everyone to coaching, but sometimes I would be irresponsible to try and answer a question that has too many questions from me before I could even come up with anything. You see what I'm saying? I need more information, and that would be coaching because there's too much going on. He's got some trauma, I would say, going on there. So that's coaching. They act out to get the help they need. That's what kids do if they're going through something big. They act out to get the help they need. Okay, my baby had a lot of tantrums at 1, but now he's 2 and he's gotten so much better, like a best friend. Excellent. If he's 2 years old and he's gotten better already, you're very lucky. Oh, your 1-year-old hits you? I just did a video on that. I just posted it. So check that out. It's a 1-year-old or 15-month-old or something who hits and scratches while you're carrying her around. But yeah, check that out after we're finished here because I just did that. I didn't enjoy doing the videos today. Sometimes, I don't know why, but doing videos, sometimes I'm just not in the mood. And I can always tell my energy level just isn't there. I was doing these videos. I thought, yeah, I'm just not into it. I love doing this and I love coaching because you're talking with me. I don't like just talking by myself. I get lonely. Okay. How to handle tantrums at 16 months. Brought me to tears today. I'm exhausted. I have a million videos on tantrums and I just did a whole bunch this past few days. So check those out. Tantrums, how you ignore tantrums. They're going to get worse before they're going to get better because you're teaching them that they're not going to McFuddle you. You're not going to get all upset over them. They're not going to work, in other words. But 16 months old is kind of on the cusp. You don't want to necessarily just ignore a tantrum. You also might want to do a little bit of redirecting. So if they're having a tantrum, I might go and sit on the couch and read their favorite book out loud to myself. And the little fox jumped over the fence or whatever. I don't know. I forget all the children's books. Jumped over the fence and just out loud to yourself. They might crawl up into your lap and stop tantruming. But I don't talk to them. Oh, you asked about stepson. I don't discuss step parenting because what if I gave you advice and then the parent didn't like it? Sorry, people are using just letters as words and it's throwing me off. Your videos may be a better mom. I tried gentle parenting and it was different. It was harder. Yeah, I don't comment on that. But to be honest, I don't know much about it. I only teach what I know. I only teach through experience. So with kids, I've never read a book on parenting or anything or kids or anything. So yeah, I stay in my lane. Um, so I would never comment on that. Before having kids to see if you are suitable. Oh, do you think anyone should be able to have kids, or do you think there should be a law? Well, we all say that there should be. You should have to have a license to have kids because a lot of people shouldn't have them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Not everyone's meant for parenting. No, it's not for everybody. I loved it. I knew I had to be a mom, but it's not for everybody. I know I have lots of friends who don't have kids, and they're just as happy as I am. So the thing is, now that my kids are adults, they kind of see it now. They say, if I just could have skipped the first 20 years, it would have been great. So they would love to have adult kids because I'm in my 60s now, right? They would love to have adult kids and grandkids, but they didn't want to go through all that stuff. Oh, you were asking me, many administrators are pushing us to help regulate our students while they're doing so you're a teacher. I don't discuss that. And I would never, I don't know anything about teaching. I don't know what's going on there. So yeah, I teach parenting home-based. Everything I do is about being a leader for your children, not for other kids. A lot of the methods can cross over, but a huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists, because they struggle with parenting a lot too, because they're very good at what they do. I couldn't teach. I couldn't be a child psychologist. I can't do any of that. But I understand parenting. So yeah, we all have our different specialties. So I can't comment on what administrators are telling teachers to do. They know their school. I don't know their school. How do I improve morning routines with a 7-year-old? I'm assuming you mean school morning routines, right? I would put on the behavior board that's free up above, put down follow school morning routine, and I would have a routine listed out. And then the reward at the end of it would be you can have the iPad for 10 minutes before we go out the door, only if all this stuff is done. Check, 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 and then you get the iPad for 10 minutes or whatever. So get all that done, and then you get a reward at the end of it. You get to relax and do something at the end. That usually works. It's an incentive. It's not so much a reward. I guess it sort of is, but it's more incentive. Like my kids used to say, can we watch TV? And I'd say, sure, as long as all you're ready for school. And they'd race around getting all ready. There was no issues ever. My kids would never have asked me for anything until all their chores were done. They just wouldn't have. So, but yeah, it's about teaching children self-discipline, teaching them you've got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. So that's an incentive to get ready for school. Get it all done. You start the behavior board at the age of 3. That's when they have the ability to start to be able to reason. They understand, they can think before they act. Will they always do it? No, but they have the ability to think before they act. So you're going to teach them to do that. Things usually get worse before they get better because if you've been the pleaser parent rolling out the red carpet for them, trying to make their life easy, all of a sudden you want to be the leader and you want them to be polite and respectful. They're going to kick back. They're going to have a bit of a fit. It's okay. Never be afraid of a scene or a fit or a tantrum because that's your opportunity to exercise your leadership. Whenever a kid pushed me and tried to get the better of me. I loved it because that was my opportunity. My son, whenever he saw me working with kids around other kids, if they tried to push me around or anything, he said you always smile. That's like because I go, oh, here's my opportunity. So yeah, that's okay. That behind every scene is a lesson. The pool story is the best for that, to teach you that never be afraid of a scene because that's a great opportunity to exercise your leadership. And then they'll treat you really well. They'll be easy. They'll want to please you. How do you handle screaming when they don't get their own way? Are they 16, 6? I don't know how old they are. So, okay. One major thing you said that helped me was make sure their needs are met. My 3-year-old wanted more play with me. Yeah. So meet their needs and manage their wants. But their needs are they want to bond with you. They want to play. They want to have fun. So play with your kids. Even if you work and you're just exhausted, you come home, say, okay, 5 minutes of hide and seek, put the timer on, run it, play hide and seek for 5 minutes. You want to connect with your kids. You can discipline as much as you want, but if you're not connecting with them, what's the point? You want to enjoy your kids. I want you to be friends with your kids. I want you to sail right through the teen years like I did. I want you to have fun parenting. But you got to do the discipline too. But you got to meet their needs and manage their wants. And a lot of their needs is having fun with you. Once you get that fun parent role, like I was definitely the fun parent, once you get that fun parent role, it's almost embarrassing for them to act out and be rude to you because you're so nice to them. You get along so well. It would be like you're like a mentor, like someone that they look up to. That's what leadership's all about, right? So they would be embarrassed to act out with you. I remember once my son, he was late for something or forgot to do something. And he actually said, "Sorry that you have to discipline me, Mom." He actually apologized for it. I thought that was really weird, actually. Sorry. And the discipline was he had to brush my hair. So that was because I love having my hair brushed. So that was his discipline. And believe me, it was punishment. And he hated doing it. So yeah, yes, that really helped doing more playtime with them. A lot of it on the behavior board, the parents, their rule is play hide and seek for 10 minutes every day after dinner. That's their rule. If they don't do it, then they have to play the next day for 20 minutes. So it's bonding with them, it's connecting. The closer you are with your kids, the easier this is. My daughter wants like 3 hours straight. Put a timer on. Put a timer. 10 minutes of hide. That's why we get timers all the time. I should get commission on this, but I'm sure I've sold a lot of these. Those clocks that you can get on wherever, and they have colors, and the kids can actually see the time disappearing. It's more visual. Timers make you look more like a leader. They're visual, and there's a boundary. Ding. Okay, that's over. They just don't tend to fight it as much when they understand there's a boundary. You know what you're doing. You're a leader. It's like they generally don't have tantrums at school when recess is over or lunch is over. You see, they just understand. Ding, the bell's gone. Okay. We all need boundaries in life. Yeah, we use Alexa for timer. They can't argue with Alexa. The only reason I suggest, and Alexa's great too, the only reason I suggest that other one is especially with little kids, they like to see the time disappearing. They like to see it going. It's visual. But as they get older, you can just use Alexa, right? And that behavior board too, you do that really big. Do it like a big poster, slap it up in a high traffic area and refer to it. Every time you discipline them, you don't just say, you're going to do this. You go to the behavior board, you point to it, treat it like law. You're giving it weight. Whenever someone hires me, I say, blame me. Say, we paid a lot of money for this lady. She told us to do this, so it's happening. As the kids get older, money talks. Every single time, I always say with teenagers, say, look, we paid her a lot of money to teach us how to be better parents. So we're going to make this happen. And teenagers always say the same thing. How much? They want to know exactly how much. So it was really funny. One client I told years ago, well, I probably shouldn't say all this. Anyway, it was funny. I said to lie about how much they paid me. It was a lot. And turns out they had a lot of kids and they did end up paying me that much because they thought, oh, how ridiculous. They did end up. So we had a laugh over that. Okay. You had to be there. It was hilarious. Okay. What? When is it okay to stop giving attention to do house chores? I always feel guilty doing the chores. I don't understand what you mean. You have to explain that. Yes, I try to do planned time morning and afternoon, then dad gets most of the night play with me. Yeah, you got to connect with your kids. You got to play with them. Whenever you're connecting with them, you connect in their world, not in yours. Like you don't connect with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill, right? So you just connect in their world, in their language, on their terms. That's where the magic happens. What's the youngest kids you work with? Newborns. Or I even work with parents who are just pregnant. Yeah. I don't tend to go in because I'm more talking about behavior and connection. You can learn how to feed a baby and change a baby online, but I talk more about what you want to look out for coming down the pike. Like how you want to prepare for toddler years, how you want to prepare for this and that, and you set you up with systems so that you kind of start on the right foot. That's what I do when it's someone who's just having a baby or doesn't even have kids yet. But I'm going to read you my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. So these are my top 5 tips if you've got toddlers. And this is if you've just got a newborn or something and you want to think about these things, because the toddler years are coming up really quickly and they're physically probably the most challenging. So number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no or worry about them. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. They never have many toys out at any given time, but you rotate them maybe once a week. Number 3 is enter their world to connect with them. I already went into that. So you enter their world to play with them, get down on the floor with them. Don't just sit up on the couch and point to Lego or blocks. You get down the floor on their level and play with them. That's part of the leadership starting. They're starting to look at you differently. You're connecting with them in a different way. And number 4 is when you are disciplining a child, do not get into all the therapy sessions, the discussing all the why they shouldn't do that, how they feel, their big feelings, all that stuff, all that self-regulating and all that garbage. Anyway, it's nothing to do with them. That's all feeding the mom. It's about consistent corrective actions with toddlers. So you are actions, not words with toddlers when you're disciplining them. And then I don't know why I'm chirping around doing that. Anyway, and number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They haven't formed yet. They haven't developed sanity yet. They're just crazy. So don't try and figure them out. I thought you were going to ask what's the oldest kid I've worked with. I think the oldest kid I worked with was 25. And the only reason I agreed to that was it was very immature, a spoiled 25-year-old. Parents had a lot of money. And she was completely demanding of their money, and she lived at home. And she was very childlike. So that's the only reason I took that on. Did it get ugly? Yep. Did it work out in the end? As far as I know, yeah. It was better anyway. Okay. I'm also going to read out, what else I wrote down something today. I thought I should start saying this one too. It was such a good point I heard. This applies to parenting. It's kind of weird. Like I wrote it down initially thinking this was for me, but it's not. It's for you too. The saying is, don't wilt. Who was this? Jordan Peterson or someone this came from? Don't wilt under criticism. Follow your convictions. Because I get a lot of crap online, right? People coming after me. It never bothers me at all because I know what I'm doing. My convictions are way stronger than what anyone could say to me. But don't wilt under criticism. Follow your convictions. As a leader, when you're parenting, don't wilt when your kids have a fit just because they don't like what you're doing. If you know what you're doing is right, follow your convictions. So if you know what you're doing is right, don't worry about how they react. Don't react to their reaction. Just follow through and it'll all work out. Would you happen to have an example of what? The last tip. Don't try and figure them out. Toddlers, is that the one? Don't try and figure them out? Must be. Or is it the discipline? Because don't try and figure them out. I don't think I need explaining. Anyway, maybe you can let me know. Okay, do you have a workshop or something? Yep, I have a full course called Bratbusters Boot Camp. It is for 3 to 12-year-olds, and it sets you up as a leader in 5 weeks. Don't rush through it, 5 weeks. Spankings for toddlers, yes or no? No. You only spank and yell because you don't know what else to do. So I'm teaching you what else to do, okay? So yeah. Help, please. My 4-year-old keeps having accidents in his pants at school, 1 and 2. What can I do? I don't know. If he's 4 years old, I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, that's not a quick answer. I don't know why. Is he regressed? Like, was he not doing it, or has he always done that? So I don't. And what kind of parent are you? Are you a leader? Are you a pleaser? Are you an authority? So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me for that. That's all in the link above in coaching. If I snap at my 7-year-old when I'm frustrated, should I apologize? Yep. If you do, I would say, well, snap at him. So if you're angry and you say, I'm really sorry I snapped at you. I shouldn't have done that. What can I do to make it up to you? How about, how old is he? 7 or something? How about we play hide and seek for 10 minutes? I'm really sorry. Just make it quick. Something like that. Can anyone repeat the first 2 tips? Okay, is this the toddler tips? I'll just read them out again. My top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. I thought a lot about this. I had 3, then I had 4, then I had 5, then I had 7, then I went back to 5. So number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. So they only have a few toys out. They get bored with them a week later. You rotate and bring 5 new toys out. They'll look at them like they're brand new almost. Number 3 is enter their world to connect with them. If you want to connect with a 3-year-old, don't go to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You enter their world. You play on their level. Watch them play and then mimic it. Get in their world. Number 4 is stop with the mini therapy sessions when you're disciplining. Quit explaining yourself. Quit talking about feelings and emotions. And that's therapy. It's a toddler, for God's sake. Why are you giving them a therapy session? It's just insanity. I don't get that. Anyway, it's ridiculous. They're all about consistent corrective actions. So if they hit someone with a toy, you say no, and you put that toy away. You're always calm as anything, but you take action. They will learn. Might take a few times, probably take 50 times, but they will eventually learn. But you got to be 10 times out of 10 with that. If you're 9 times out of 10, they remember the one time you didn't do it. But kids always remember what you did wrong. Remember my son was a teenager and he says, remember when you did that wrong and that wrong? And I said, what about what I did right? And he goes, what? Anyway, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are unfigure-outable because they haven't formed yet. They don't make any sense yet because they don't have sense yet. They're just forming. Imagine if you were 2 years old and in the world, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, what context do they have of the world? They have none. Toddlers have feelings. It isn't therapy. Exactly. That's why you don't give them a therapy session. How cruel and mean is that? I think it's awful. Discussing all that crap. I think it's awful. Get the discipline over with. No, you don't do that, and then you can read a book to them. Don't go on and on and on with all this therapy. That's for you. It's not for your child. It's very, very much invented for the mother. I saw that coming 30 years ago. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they used to teach that, and now they're going, boy, was I wrong. They get it. It's going out. It's going out. Okay, because it doesn't work. It backfires. It's very good for my business, though. That style of parenting brings me in a lot of business because it backfires down the road. Okay. My 4-year-old son's bedtime is 7. He says no for bed. What should I do? Well, he says no. He still goes to bed. Like, you're in charge, right? Okay, so bedtime routine, it's twofold. Bedtime is twofold. One is the hour-long routine, the bath, getting dressed, 20 minutes of reading in his bed, not in your bed, 20 minutes of reading to him. And then you say, okay, good night, lights out. And then you say, you stay in bed. Love you, good night, stay in bed. You leave the room. The first time he gets out of the bed, you say, I said it's bedtime, don't get up again. And you physically put him back in bed. The second time he gets up, you say bedtime, one word. Every time after that, you don't look at him or talk to him. You just calmly and quietly and slowly put him back to bed. He may be kicking and screaming. Only one body part touches the mattress. That's okay. Then you calmly walk out and don't let him get past the doorway. Otherwise, it becomes a game of chase. So you just calmly put him back. It might take 100 times. It's going to be one hell of a bad night, but they often never get up again. The worse that battle is that first night, the less likely they are to get up ever again. I had one dad who went till 5 a.m, cursing me all night, as you can imagine. And the kid, and this is a much older kid too, like 6 or 7. And they had problems with him every single night. And one night of sheer hell, and he never got up again. So yeah, it works because the kids he was starting to figure out, wait a minute, my parents are kind of in charge now. So yeah, it was good. Don't know what you mean. Um, I had another point I was going to bring up. I was looking for it. There's something. Oh, I'll just go into this. There's just a few points I like to hit on. There's 4 stages to parenting. Now, this isn't about the kids. This is about you, what type of parent you are. There are 4 different stages to parenting. One is the baby stage, 0 to 15 months. It's all nurturing, pick them up whenever they cry, cuddle them, do all that nurturing stuff because you're building that love and that connection and warmth and safety. Okay. Then you become a different parent when they're toddlers. You're still doing all that all throughout their life. You're always loving them and hugging them and that. But a toddler is 16 to 35 months. That's when you're starting to really get into the discipline and correcting. So when they do something bad or mean or anything, you say no, and there's consistent corrective action. You're starting to teach them right from wrong, and they're starting to get it, okay? Then you change again when they're children from 3 to 12 years old. That's why my Bratbusters boot camp is 3 to 12 years old. A vast difference in age, but you're very much the same parent. You're very much the leader. And they are watching you, they're following you, they want to please you. That's 3 to 12-year-olds. Then you get into the teen years, you have to change quite drastically here. They're 13 and up, and that's when they're becoming more the leaders and you're there for backup. They don't want to please you, they just don't want to disappoint you. You want them to take the reins and become more independent. So you have to learn not to sweat the small stuff, which leads me into another point. I just want to read this out. So that's the 4 stages of parenting. And then what are the 3 top tips for parenting teenagers? So now you've got the teenager, right? This is where a lot of parents mess up because they almost get stricter with teenagers because that's where all your mistakes come out. That's where everything that you did when they were little that was okay, it comes out when they're teenagers because now they're going to rebel against what you were doing wrong. That's when all your mistakes show up. It's when they hit the teen years. So you really want to get this stuff right before they hit the teen years. But if not, that's why I specialize in teenagers. They're my favorite age. But here's my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. You listen to show empathy and understanding. You do not listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. They will tell you everything when you become a good listener. The second one is negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want you to make your bed from now on. What do you want from me? Okay, so it's give and take. Then the last one is don't sweat the small stuff. They're going to make mistakes. Only save your energy for the big stuff. If you're going to sweat the small stuff with teenagers, micromanage them, you'll have no energy or respect for the big stuff. So that's my 3 top tips with parenting teenagers. Whew. What if they're on the spectrum? ASD, I only deal with that in coaching. So one-on-one, that's not a TikTok thing. So anything that's like that, like special, anything specialty like that, like I specialize in teen crisis work too. I don't discuss any of that on TikTok or on social media. So that's all coaching, one-on-one. Nobody said anything about pleasing parenthood. I talk about the pleaser parent style, which is so popular right now. It's trying to make everything easy for your kids. You want them to like you. You're trying to be popular. You want them to have participation awards. Sometimes they don't even go to the game and parents still fight for that award. Oh, it's ridiculous. Anyway, and you go and tell the teacher your child has special. Treat them like they're special and this and that. It's all this entitlement. You're turning them into victims is what you're doing. So they grow up, and if everyone else doesn't cater to them, then they're like a victim. They just drool and don't know how to take care of themselves. The pleaser parent style has been trending now for 30 years. I've been watching it. And I said 30 years ago, they're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. And I'll bet there'll be more of a drug problem too, because mental health issues lead to a drug problem, right? So anyway, it's a disaster now. And one thing I didn't really predict, but I don't know why I didn't. Teachers are quitting right, left, and center. They can't take it anymore. Parents aren't doing their job at home. They're sending unruly kids to school and then getting mad at the school when their kids act out. It's ridiculous. And parents and teachers, their hands are tied. They can't discipline kids anymore. If they look at a student the wrong way, the parent goes and sues them. I mean, it's gotten chaotic. I think it's turning around, though. I really do. I see a difference because people are realizing it wasn't working. But that pleaser style came in and it was just a disaster. Amen, preach. I do that. I'm so passionate about what I do. I really believe in this because I've worked with, it's not just my own experience. I worked with hundreds of kids and especially troubled teens. They were my favorite. And I raised a couple of kids into adulthood. But I learned a lot now in the 17 years I've been coaching. I've learned a lot through my clients too. What works, what doesn't. And I've seen what works. That's why I'm so passionate. This works. It's about connecting with your kids, making them like themselves, making them feel good about themselves, forcing them to think before they act. You teach them that, and you'll just see a big difference. Any good books on parent? I am the only one I know teaches this, so I've never read a book on parenting. I don't have any. I only teach through my own experience, and I don't have a book, so I can't. I don't think anyone else is teaching this. Great questions for a teen. Do you want me to listen or do you want advice? I wouldn't even say that. I just listen. They already know your advice, don't they? Right? And if they want it, they'll ask. Don't even offer it. I wouldn't offer it. Like I never told my kids what to do from the time they were little. If they had a problem, I'd say, I don't know, let's figure it out together. I wanted them to come up with their own solutions. I was there sort of offering ideas when they were younger, but by the time they were teenagers, they already knew what I was going to say anyway. So why would they ask for my advice? They already knew it. I don't like that. It sounds kind of, do you want me to just listen or do you want my advice? It sounds a little bit patronizing. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. It just kind of was rubbing me the wrong way and I couldn't figure out why. Sounds, in other words, do you just want me to listen or do you really want something constructive like my advice? Like another, you know what I mean? It's sort of, do you just want me to listen or do you want something good? The listening is the good. I think she's talking to you. I don't know who I'm talking to. I didn't look at names. Sometimes I just think, am I going to say this out loud? Because I can't help myself. I don't have a filtering system. I always say, I'm going to say what I think you need to hear. You may not like it, and people probably, are bailing at times with me, but I'm okay with that because I have to say what I know I think you need to hear. You should see me in coaching. My God, I let it fly sometimes. But I have to tell parents what they need to hear. It's just got to be me. Okay. I don't get that comment. Have any parents' kids not taken your coaching? Have any parents or kids not taken to your coaching? Oh, yes. When I get a parent who does not want to be on the behavior board, I say, don't even turn up to my sessions. Let the other parent do it. Because if they don't want to be on that behavior board, and I understand sometimes it's from pain, they're so angry, especially they're teenagers, they might be really angry. I say, just take a breather and watch the other parent that I'm working with and see how it goes. But yeah, it happens. And lots of kids fight back. And if the parents don't keep following through, it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard work. Earning respect, you got to work for this. Once you've got it, it's a piece of cake. Maintaining it is easy. Getting it is hard work. So you get what you put into it. And I always say to the parents, don't bother questioning me because you can question me on what to do, but don't bother questioning why I've told you to do something unless we've got time, because we waste a lot of time if I have to explain myself, especially if I get a child psychologist for a client. They want to know why I'm doing everything. They just do. And I say, I'll tell you what, by the end of the third session or fifth session, then we can talk about it if you want to know. But they usually still want to kind of know my psychology and the reason behind it, which I love. It's my favorite thing to talk about. But I don't want to waste their money on explaining myself. I'd rather just say, do this, do that, do this, do that. And yeah, but I've been doing this for so long now. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew the success rate. And some people just also aren't ready to hear it. Some people are, sometimes, and I know when I'm talking to someone if they're going to do it or not. So are they going to follow through or not? They just aren't always ready, and they'll often come back maybe in a year or so, and they'll say, "Yeah, it just seemed too hard. Now it's going to be twice as hard because we waited a whole year." So, and I understand. I totally respect that. Like we're all like that with dieting, or how many times did I quit smoking before I actually quit? I quit like 40 years ago, but I probably quit 6 times before I actually quit. You got to be ready. But once you do, it's great. But when you're ready for it, it works. If you're not ready for it, it's all up to you. Currently, my 3-year-old's outside with the hose and won't come inside and spraying me with water. Well, why are you not out there grabbing the hose? Couldn't imagine my kids doing that. We did a lot of that stuff in fun, but if they're being cheeky, yeah. I love you. You've completely changed my mindset on parenting, and I appreciate it. Is it about connecting, right? Is that the part that you like? It's the discipline, yeah, but it's the connecting with your kids, right? I hope that's what most people get out of it, because everyone wants to know how to discipline kids, but that's not what I'm about at all. I'm about connecting with them, setting yourself up as a leader, and making them feel good about themselves, and then they want to please you. Because if you really like someone who makes you feel good about yourself, don't you want to please them? I've worked with hundreds of kids, and that was always my goal, that they like themselves when they're with me, and then they want to please me. That's my power. And then we can get to working on whatever schoolwork we had to do or whatever. But yeah. And I never was once ever handed an easy kid. Not once, not ever. No one ever said to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always said, good luck with this one. I loved it. It was great. It's the connection. Yeah, it really is. It's about bonding with your kids, connecting with them, and it's always in their world, never in your world. Don't expect your children to find their inner adult. They haven't even been there yet. How can they don't have an inner adult? But you have an inner 5-year-old. You have an inner 2-year-old. You have an inner 15-year-old. You find that. That's your job. You want to find that and connect with them in their world, because that's respect. How to stop being a pleaser parent. Just keep watching me. It makes sense. It's just common sense. I've never studied any of this. Kids taught me all this. It was the delinquent teenagers told me to start this business. They said, you have to teach what you do, Lisa. And I said, yeah. And I thought about it. It took me years to do it. But anyway, I didn't think there was such a thing. There was no such thing as a parenting coach. What was I going to say? There was something else. Oh, this was from Roberta. She was on Instagram, and she wrote this down about parents who were trying to give a therapy session during a tantrum. People who obviously don't teach the way I do. And she said, Roberta wrote back to a comment about someone saying that you should talk to your child when they're having a tantrum. She said, they're not going to listen to you yammer on about feelings when they're having a tantrum. I couldn't say it any better myself. I love the way she worded that. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention too, what time is it? I'm going to get going soon. 4 annoying traits that kids are born with. I did a video on this recently, but I want to tell you this so you don't take the blame for it. Your kids are either born to do this or they're not. It's not your fault. If they continue to do it past the age of 3, then you might want to say, wait a minute, I got to fix myself here and set myself up as a leader. But when they're toddlers and that, if they're doing any of these things, they're born to do it, okay? One of them is tantrums, obviously. They're either going to have them or they're not. I had one kid who did, one kid who didn't. And you can tell when they're babies. They're the ones who, when you're trying to get them on the boob and they can't get on right away, they turn red and start to scream. That was my son, whereas my daughter could have gone for an hour trying to get on. She never would have screamed. So anyway, tantrums. The other one is aggressiveness. They're either going to hit or they're not. They're either born to hit or they're not. And the other one is runners. They're the ones who never look behind to check to see where you are. They just take off. So they either do that or they don't. And the last one is climbing. I think that's the worst. The climbers, they get up on top of the fridge. You can't even find them. But they're the worst because it's very hard to childproof a home against climbers. The best suggestion I have is put bells on everything, even bells on your kids if you have to. So yeah, just put all the chairs up high. I've had clients who say they put their chairs in closets and everything, just so the kids can't pull them across the room to use them to climb with. So those are 4 things that they're either born to do or they're not. And this just kind of makes your job a little bit harder to train them out of that. So it's tantrums, climbing, aggressiveness, and running away from you. 4 things. They're born to do that. Climbers, yes. One of my viewers, I think it was on Instagram, they said, I got 4 kids and they got all 4. But usually the climbers are, and they're a sign of what can be good later on, okay? Like it can turn into something good. Climbers might be the athletes of tomorrow. Aggressiveness might be they're never going to take any crap from anyone. Tantrums, not so much, and the runners, they're just independent, so they can turn into good things down the road, but yeah, they're really annoying. My daughter does all of those. Yeah. So don't take the blame for that. If your kids are born to have to do those things, it's not your fault, but you got to work on it to stop it. But okay, actually I have to get going. I have one child and he has all four. Yeah, not your fault. You're just born to do that. Okay, so I'm going to get going. If you go in the link above, you can hire me for coaching. Kids born to say no. Kids born to say no. That's a good one. I like that. Should I even include that? I think I'll put that down as a funny one. Just let me write that down before I forget. I think that's funny. Kids who say no. LOL. Good one. Thanks for that. I'll use that. Erica. I'm going to write your name down there. Okay. Anyway, if you go in the link above, you'll see my coaching, my courses. My Bratbusters Bootcamp is for 3 to 12-year-olds, sets you up as a leader in 5 weeks. Mini toddler courses are all there to see. And then also my free behavior board. You can sign up for that if you want to. It teaches you how to give respect to get it because you're on there too. That starts at the age of 3. And some of my clients have taken that to work and used it with their staff, and they have fun with it, right? If you're late, you have to bring a flat of donuts. If you're more than 10 minutes late, you have to bring donuts and coffee. They have fun with that stuff. And often the boss is late too. So anyway, it's just an accountability chart. That's all it is. That's what it's based on. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I will be back again tomorrow. My live is scheduled on Tuesday nights at 7 and Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Those are my only regularly scheduled lives, and that's a Vancouver time, which is the same as California time. Anyway, thanks so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bye now.